So after the Highwaymen, then you kind of got the old American rhythm section again together, and you did the Memphis Boys album. So that was an instrumental album that you did.
Yeah, we did. Garth Brooks produced that album.
Alan Reynolds.
Alan Reynolds, yeah. And let's hope so.
Yeah. So that kind of whetted your appetite for later for making an album.
No, not for me personally.
Because you weren't real happy with the project.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about me doing an album.
Okay.
Because I was so busy. The thoughts of, so I got a few days off, I'm gonna go home and write some songs. I didn't want to do that. I want to go to Florida or somewhere. You know?
Go do something fun,
Yeah.
not think about writing tunes.
Right.
So then you were kind of reunited with some of your old kind of, so you did an album with Arthur Alexander.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Wow,
So
you did about that. Wow.
yeah. So that was, and then also with Dan Penn.
Right.
You did an album with him in that time period where you were kind of, revisiting that sound again.
Right.
Yeah, and the whole time you're also you're playing on all of Travis Tritt's records that were big hits at that time. You were playing the solos like on Anymore and some of these other songs, and just kind of continued to do sessions. Now, then we get up to the late '90s, and that's when or early 2000s is when Waylon called you and asked you to do a tour with him alone.
Right.
Yeah. And is that where you met Jenny?
Yeah, because she's from Phoenix.
Okay.
And she was playing fiddle.
Mm-hmm.
She's a cellist, classical cellist.
Mm-hmm.
But she was playing fiddle in a house band out there.
Okay.
And he said he went to her and wanted to hire her to play fiddle with the band he was putting together.
Mm-hmm.
And so she agreed. And that's where I met her when we were rehearsing down here at the rehearsal place.
Okay.
And he told us, he said, I said, he said, y'all are the most loneliest people I've ever seen. Probably so at the time,
Okay.
And we went out and toured his last tour with him for a couple of years. It was a lot of fun, a lot of memories. We just loved it, every bit of it.
Yeah.
And
because I guess Waylon was declining in health at that point, but he was a friend of yours.
Yeah,
so,
he was. Before that, with the Highwaymen, when they wanted us to go out and tour with them, I was thinking, I don't know if I want to do that because I didn't want to be gone from the studio world. You
Right.
need to stay around. That was the big income I had.
Okay.
And so I remember I went out on the first tour, and I had a calendar, and I'd check off every day. It's 30-day tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I was checking it off in my bunk in the bed, and I couldn't wait to get through, and it was finally 30 days. Whew, okay. So we did that in the spring and also in the fall. So after I was home for about 2 weeks, I said, I missed that. That was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
So when they did another Highwayman tour, I was the first one
Yeah.
to want to do that.
Yeah,
but when Waylon did that, it was Richie Albright was his drummer and had been with him forever, And we had a great time.
Yeah.
Had the whole outfit. Sometimes we'd go on the bus, but we flew most everywhere we went.
Yeah.
But we were all over the United States.
Yeah. There's also another icon that you got to work with Ray Charles. So,
Oh, yeah.
and that would be a big thrill. Yeah.
It was a big thrill, because he's an icon,
Yeah.
When I did that with Tritt, when we filmed, he couldn't have made any better. He was just perfect.
Yeah. Brent Mason was also on that, and
Yeah.
so does that get interesting when you have two electric players on a session? Is that pretty common, or is,
If you got a good player, Brent Mason is one of the best players around.
mm-hmm.
We always get along working, and I also work with Billy Joe Walker a lot.
Right.
Probably more sessions with Billy Joe than anybody in town.
I guess personalities really come into effect when you're talking about two guitar players, two electric players working together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you continued to play on sessions, and you married Jenny.
I married Jenny, best thing I ever did.
That's the right answer. That is the right answer. And continued, and then you played on the Clapton session that you mentioned with J.J. Cale.
Right.
And then now you have a solo record that you're about to release. So this is your first solo album. It's called Forever Young.
Forever Young.
And so it's all instrumental.
All instrumental.
Yeah.
And original.
Yeah.
And the reason it came about, I never thought I'd be doing that, but usually when I go in a session, I plug my guitar up and I'll just be noodling around, and it had these, I don't know where it came from, and out of my head somewhere. And somebody would say, "What's that you're playing?" I said, "I don't know, I'm just tuning up."
Yeah.
Man, you ought to record that, and it happened so many times, and I thought, maybe I should. So I did. I added some more to each of the noodlings and came up with 7 songs.
Yeah.
I went to Muscle Shoals, and I took Clayton Ivey, Chad Cromwell, and David Hood was already down there. Recorded at La La Land.
Mac McAnally.
Mac McAnally, Jimmy Buffett, yeah. Anyway, it came out pretty good. We spent about 3 days. I mean, the tracks came off great, but I didn't like the guitar part.
Okay.
Because I can't play and produce it at the same time.
That's difficult.
Yeah. So I shelved it after I got home. I didn't listen to it for about a year, I guess. Then I thought, well, I'm going to see what this sounds like. I played it, and it really, really sounded good, everything but my part.
Yeah.
And so I got an engineer to come out here to the house, and I redid all the guitar parts, and had Jim Horn write horns to all the songs, and that's, it got a horn section, and just tidied up a few more. Robbie Turner was at the very last. He mixed the album. It sounded great.
Yeah.
Mark Polak was the engineer that was here that cut everything. Anyway, so here I am with an album.
Yeah. Yeah. 80 years old, releasing
the
first solo
exactly
record.
Right.
It's a fantastic album, and all the cuts are longer. So even though there's only 7 tracks on there, most of the songs go 5 minutes or longer.
Yeah.
And the Memphis Grease is really a nice tune in that it kind of goes from a minor feel to a major feel, and you kind of play kind of bluesier stuff, and then you kind of play the Memphis kind of guitar style.
Right.
Yeah, really neat cut, and I especially also like the tune Jennifer.
Oh, I do too. That's my favorite.
Yeah, but it has your wife's playing cello on that also, and you do a lot of your kind of volume pedal work.
Wow.
And that's really, really nice. How did you start using the volume pedal with the guitar?
Well, back in Memphis, I used to work a lot with John Huey. We were best friends.
He was a steel player.
Yeah. And I liked the way you could play a note and just choke it for all it's worth, or drag it out.
Drag it out.
And so I guess that came from John Huey.
And because that kind of became one of your kind of calling cards was your volume pedal work.
Right.
And that was early on.
Right. When I moved here in '72, I don't think anybody was using a volume pedal. It worked out good for me.
Yeah. There's not a session player in town that doesn't have a volume pedal.
I know.
Yeah. It became one of the tools that you had to have, and you kind of were a force behind that. Yeah. So we're going to talk gear now, Reggie.
Right.
So in the early days, it looks like there's footage of you with a Blackguard Telecaster and with a Strat, and then you kind of played the 345.
I did that. I played this a long time.
Yeah, And so tell us about this guitar. This is a 50 Strat. What year is it?
57.
57.
Yeah. It's the last year they made the V-neck.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried to get Joe Glazer to work on the guitar some. He won't touch it. He said, no, not a 57. he said
So,
that's...
so you were trying to get different things done to the guitar, and he won't let you modify it?
No, he won't. And I've got, it's amazing, I've got all of the equipment that came with it and, and the original case.
Okay.
And I've got every nut and bolt that came out of this. Yeah. And eventually I'm going to let Joe put it back together.
Okay. So when did you purchase this guitar?
I moved here in 72, and it was shortly after that.
Okay. So in 72 you picked up the guitar.
Yeah. I had that Telecaster. And I bought a Les Paul, and then I had the opportunity to buy this.
Yeah.
And then I loved that so much. I played this for years and years and years.
Yeah.
I still do.
Yeah. Because you played that Strat on tons and tons of sessions.
Yeah.
So at some point there's it looks like you from past pictures it looks like you had some EMG pickups in there for a while.
Did, yeah.
Yeah. Was that because of the noise thing?
It was a noise thing. And then I got the pickups in there now are Bill Lawrence.
Okay.
But they don't make any noise either.
Okay.
So of course normally you'd have to find the place, the magic place, to set.
Yeah.
Or it'll hum. But
now and I'm assuming you put a 5-way switch, had a 5-way switch put in the guitar. Yeah. Is the wiring in any way different than normal otherwise?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So
I think it came that way.
Okay. And so the guitar, so otherwise, besides the pickups being changed in a 5-way switch, that's how it's been. You've probably had it refretted at some point from all the playing that you've done on it.
Yeah.
And this is the guitar like on George Strait's The Fireman, and it's on, I think I'll Just Stay Here and Drink, and tons of sessions that you've played.
Yeah.
What made you pick it up in the first place? You just picked up the guitar and it just kind of spoke to you?
Well, I kind of needed a second guitar, and a friend of mine had 3 of these, and or Strats, and he was wanting to sell them, and I said, well, I played them, and I like this one better than any of the others, so I wound up buying this. I said, well, heck, I'll have a Strat now.
Yeah.
I used to have a Strat years ago when I first started playing.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, it's a good guitar you can go to that or the telly.
Yeah.
You got it covered.
So show us show the back of the headstock so we can whose signature is that?
B.B. King.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to get it covered up before it fades totally away, with lacquer or something. And the heart's from my wife, Jenny.
Okay, very nice. Yeah. So he must be pretty important for you to have his signature on your guitar, because you don't have any other signatures on your instruments. So
I used to chase his bus down Beale Street in Memphis.
Wow.
If I saw it, I'd just run to. I try to get a glimpse of him,
Yeah, because you were such a fan of his playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
And this is a '69 Telecaster.
Yeah.
And,
so now you had played a Telecaster some before this, because there's shots of you with a blonde Telecaster in '66, '67, '68, and so So what did this guitar do that other one didn't?
Well, one thing I like the way it looked.
Oh yeah, because of the binding and
the binding.
The
I'd never seen a binding one before. I was in the OK How music store in Memphis, and he said, I was just looking at stuff, and he said, well, we got a guitar that's they repossessed. Somebody bought it and couldn't pay for it.
Okay.
And said, it's pretty cool. Said, would you like to
And so,
try it. And I said, yeah. So it was this one. I mean, I liked it so much better than my other one.
yeah.
Back then, I couldn't have two guitars. I couldn't afford it.
So that blonde Telecaster was kind of your main guitar there
Yeah.
for a while, and so then did
So I
you,
played this
yeah.
one. So I traded the blonde in on this one. But to have two guitars was unheard of.
Right.
Back in whatever year that was.
Yeah, it was. You had one guitar, and so the other guitars that you used, like at American, those were ones that were lying around that Chips or Tommy or different
Yeah.
people owned that
Yeah.
you would use
Right.
sometimes. But that blonde Tele or this black one were kind of your guitars.
Right.
Yeah. So you've got this rose on here. Where did the rose?
That's funny. That came from Robbie Turner, a steel guitar player,
Yes,
and
with Waylon and with Highwayman.
yeah, and he stuck that on there one day,
Yeah.
and I just never took it off. And then I've got a heart on the back from Jenny,
Yep.
and that's it. And I had
So-
Joe later put
Yeah.
B bender and a G bender.
But you're not really known for using the
No.
benders. Yeah.
I did that shortly after I moved here because I thought I might need it, you know. But to play country and stuff, but I didn't change my style.
Yeah. So that it just ended up being a modification that you
Yeah.
don't use.
Yeah.
And so then we've got obviously these are changed. So why did you add a third pickup to the guitar?
Maybe because of Brent Mason. I liked
Okay.
his guitar. And you can also, especially if you're on this back pickup, you can blend in the middle pickup with it. And it's not so twangy and cut
Okay.
your head off, you know.
Yeah. So you can blend in the middle pickup with the bridge pickup to
Right.
soften it. And
I think this switch, and if I don't ever use it, I think in that position it kicks this pickup in,
okay.
so you can use both pickups,
Okay.
and that's probably all three pickups.
So this is a Seymour Duncan
Seymour
stack
Duncan.
pickup, and
Yeah.
you said this is a Bill Lawrence Strat pickup.
Strat pickup.
No, is it a hum canceling one like
Yeah.
in the Strat? Okay, so it's the same pickup.
Well, I don't know if it's the same pickup. I know
Okay.
it's quiet,
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
that's the important thing.
but it's a Bill Lawrence Strat pickup.
And then the back pickup is
Ron Ellis, yeah.
okay.
That's really good, really good pickup.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
So how did the Strat and the Tele kind of become your go-to instruments? Because those seem to be the instruments that you've played for so many years. You've kind of latched onto those two.
I don't know. I just enjoy playing them.
Yeah, they were just comfortable.
They're comfortable.
Yeah.
Sound good. Like I said, the front pickup of this Tele sounds like a 335 or something. It's
Okay.
just got that tone to it. And then the Strat sounds like a Strat. It's
Yeah.
supposed to.
Yeah.
So I usually use these two guitars, one or the other.
Yeah. And amp-wise, you've got a
Deluxe Reverb,
You've got
yeah.
a couple of Deluxe Reverbs, and I
Right.
looked in the back. They've got vintage 30.
Right, vintage
Celestial.
30s, yeah.
So why did you blow the other speakers, or why did you put those?
I don't remember blowing them, but I like the vintage 30. It sounds
Okay.
so much better.
And so the Deluxe is kind of seen as a kind of a industry standard as far as a guitar amp.
Yeah.
Is that I know you've used other amps through the years, but it seems like you keep gravitating to
do.
Deluxe Reverbs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, they're just why so?
The tone, I guess, it's rounder or something. It sounds fuller.
You have another Telecaster that we'll show a picture of that is a blonde Tele here, and you had indicated that Fender gave you that guitar.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so that must have been a thrill to finally after all those years of
Yeah, to get
supporting,
something from Fender.
to get something from Fender.
yeah, and I use that to when I go overseas or
Okay.
a lot of times on the road I'd take it,
Yeah.
and Because I wouldn't want this to get hurt or stolen or something. You know?
Yeah. And it looks like you had a B bender, a Glazer B bender put
Yeah.
on that, and it has a middle pickup
Yeah.
also. Yeah. Right.
But it's hard to play.
Yeah. It's hard to play. It doesn't play as well as this guitar.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing about when you get attached to certain guitars.
I know.
Yeah. Yes. So you've got a small you've got a pedal board that we'll show a picture of.
I mean, when I was out with the Highwayman, I used this.
Okay.
And then when I come back, I like the way this sounds so much better than my rack.
Okay.
I had all this stuff put in my drawer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd keep it kind of hid out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, eventually I got rid of the rack because it's too much to try to get the computer working and all that. And I only use maybe 2 or 3 of these. I don't use everything in there.
Right. So so the earliest kind of effects you would have used would have been like the amp, tremolo, and reverb.
Yeah.
And then you started using a volume pedal.
Yeah.
And then you had a Herzog.
Right.
It's kind of it's like a little amp head that creates an overdrive effect.
Right.
On American Woman, they were trying to reproduce that sound, and so the guitarist had this device created, and so it was like a little tube amp that you would plug into the input on your amp, and you'd use it to get an overdrive effect at lower volumes.
Yeah.
And that was kind of early overdrive.
I moved to Nashville with that,
Yeah.
and I couldn't do sessions without it.
Yeah.
And
Because you wanted to hear the
I
hair,
was
the hair on the
so
notes.
yeah, I was so used to hearing a little breakup, you know, and I couldn't get it unless I had the Herzog.
Yeah.
But it had, I think it had 1 tube in it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess, all of a sudden playing, crystal clean, it can be kind of harsh at times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So another one of the effects that people kind of mention, when they talk about Reggie Young is compressors. So did you, and is that a fitting thing, like with the Dynacomp? Was that kind of an effect that you used quite a bit?
I used it quite a bit, but I quit using it. I'm not
Okay.
using it at all now.
Yeah.
And like I don't use much, hardly anything. Well, a little delay I'll have, it's a kind of a whisper underneath my tone.
Right.
And the this.
The EQ.
The EQ, I really used it a lot.
Okay.
I'll set my amp and I'll get everything set up and the best sound I can get. Then I'll kick in the EQ. I usually add a little more low end or something.
Yeah. So yeah, that way you can add a little more mids or whatever you need to fill out your guitar sound.
Right.
So again, you were mentioning that so there weren't many effects that you were using through the 70s. Maybe a phase 90 or phase 100, like on Lukenbach, Texas,
Right.
but then you come up into the 80s and all of a sudden the rack era begins, and all of a sudden you had to have a big rack and you were going stereo, and
Bowen wanted us to use not use amplifiers. He called them the A things.
Yeah.
So we don't want the A things because when the last chord fades out, you can hear the
the amp,
And so that's where the rack, for me anyway, the rack came in.
Okay.
Anyway, so eventually they got used to the hiss on the end.
Yeah, it got okay again.
Yeah.
So another, then getting into the 80s, an effect that was kind of used quite a bit by everyone was chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was kind of part of the guitar sound at that point.
Right.
Yeah, and you used the TC.
Yeah.
Is that mainly what you used?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then after the Highwayman, kind of helped end the rack, kind of sound for you, but you kind of used those pedals in your rack drawer.
Right.
But then as soon as you could, you switched to using this pedal board. So here it looks.
It's a wonder it still works.
Yeah. So this is the one that Techstar built for you many years ago for
Yeah.
the Highwayman.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming you've probably changed some of the pedals on here.
Yeah. Not many.
Not many. Okay. So we've got an Ernie Ball volume pedal. We've got this This is basically a Dynacomp.
Yeah.
We've got the GE7 EQ that you said that you used to, so that you use quite a bit to kind of, fill out the sound.
Right.
Yeah. The Boss delay, the Sparkle drive, the TC chorus. It looks like you're splitting to stereo if need be, and a tremolo pedal. Pretty. And then what is this multi-hued pedal?
Yeah, that came by way of Merle Haggard.
Okay. Wow.
It's it's a slight distortion unit.
Okay.
Be about like a Herzog.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what you used the Sparkle drive before, or?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
But I don't use them very much anymore.
Yeah. So, but the normal things that you would have on would probably be the delay and the EQ.
Yeah. And not much delay, just back in the sound,
Yeah. And then another interesting thing that I've seen is that you tend to use the kind of the non-pointed end of the pick.
Right.
Use that.
I always have with my whole life. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just more comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's a little fatter sound.
Yeah.
I guess I go to a thicker pick, but I use mediums.
Yeah.
And I always use the rounded edge, not the pointed edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then looks like you used some of these guitars have little markings on the back indicating you've got D'Addario 9-gauge strings. Right. And I think you've used 9/5 through 44 strings also at some point.
Right, 9.5 I used that for a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm back to 9s now.
Yeah.
I'm getting weaker.
Well, you got to do that to get strong again.
I know.
Yeah. Well, Reggie, I really appreciate you letting us come into your home and telling your story and just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Come back anytime.
All right. Bye-bye.